Hey, what's going on, guys? It's your boy, Nerd Mode On, and welcome to episode 6 of Battle Tested, a video series where I take user-submitted loadouts and check and see if they'd be viable on the battlefield. So of course, this particular loadout is brought to you by yours truly. I decided to try something new for Battlefield 4, as well as really trying to strategically challenge myself when it comes down to close quarters combat. Now, this particular loadout is actually going to be using the primary weapon known as the M26 with the Coyote red dot sight as well as the underslung rail. Gadget 1 is going to be dedicated to the M26 mass. Gadget 2 is going to be the medical bag. My grenade type is going to be the M67 frag grenade. The knife that I'm going to be using is known as the seal knife. And last but not least, the field upgrade path is going to be grenadier. Now, of course, with all the general information talked about when it consists of this particular loadout, everything might sound hunky-dory. However, of a twist of events, I'm actually not going to be using my primary weapon in the traditional manner. In this particular episode, we're going to be heavily focusing on the M26 mass, which is a piece of equipment that I have pretty much never used in the Battlefield franchise for an extended period of time. However, I've actually come to really respect the piece of equipment when it comes down to what it has to offer and the particular playstyles that it permits when it comes down to being effective. So let's kind of transfer over to some of the analytical information when it comes down to the M26 mask, considering that if you actually haven't used it, you might not be familiar with the benefits that it has to offer. Now, the M26 mask unfortunately does not have a whole lot of information for it, considering that it's not a primary weapon by any means. I mean, of course, you can use it as a weapon, and it's intended to be used against flesh targets. However, kind of scouring through Synthic and a lot of other sites and really trying to dig into the data of the game, there really isn't a whole lot of information that is presented in a traditional manner. So I definitely am going to be trying to give you guys the most accurate information at the time, but some of this information might be slightly outdated. So the M26 mass is an underslung weapon. It definitely can be attached to almost any primary weapon in Battlefield 4, which definitely does allow you to really get close to your targets and demolish them while using the benefits that the buckshot has to offer. The M26 mass does have an approximate damage ranging from 11.2 to 5.6 on the lower spectrum. Now, one of the positive attributes of the M26 mass in specific is that its pellet count actually got increased during the spring update, and it went from 12 to 19 pellets. So of course, that's quite a dramatic change when you consider that there's 7 more pellets per shell, as well as the addition to the damage model definitely allows you to have a little bit more freedom when it comes down to missing. Now, the M26 mask, like its bigger brothers while using the pump-action shotguns, even the semi-automatic, and even the 40mm, a lot of them have similar drop-off ranges ranging from 24 to 32 meters. However, during the video, you guys will be watching me kind of snipe people from almost across the map with this thing, so it's definitely very good when it comes down to range, and I was very surprised when it comes down to the performance that this little piece of equipment has to offer. Now, considering that the M26 mass is a shotgun, there is definitely some negative attributes that come associated with these particular weapons only in Battlefield 4. The cone of fire of the M26 mass in specific is a lot different in comparison to some of the other weapons that use the traditional crosshairs that I'm sure many of you guys are very familiar with by this point. The cone of fire seems to almost be glitched in some manners, considering that it'll go from very small to absolutely ginormous on the screen. As I'm sure you guys have been watching, it looks a little jarring, and it's not something that I've set up that way. So it's definitely something to get used to. It'll definitely make you miss a lot of shots that you shouldn't, considering that the player will look to be within the cone of fire, but unfortunately when you fire, you'll quickly notice that your bullets are not going where they should. And as a due result, your spray will kind of miss the target or even clip them in some manners, and you won't do the full damage that should be done to the target, considering that you are within the cone of fire. Now, of course, another thing that a lot of players have really had an issue with since the inception of Battlefield 4 is that body armor or the protective suiting that you can use as your field upgrade path definitely does decrease the overall performance of all of the shotguns in a general sense. This has been especially noticeable on this particular weapon, considering that it does definitely do a lot of damage, but if a lot of the damage is being reduced by the body armor of the players using that field upgrade path, you'll quickly notice that you're going to be getting a lot of hit markers, even if you are barrel stuffing them right in the face. But when it really comes down to it, the M26 mask really surprised me by the potential that it has, as well as it's very universal in terms of what it permits on the battlefield. It's definitely a very good attachment if you're going to be using a weapon with a far slower rate of fire. The M416 maybe wasn't the best case, considering that it's a very well-rounded weapon altogether. However, if I was using something like a Scar H, this would definitely be a very good weapon, considering that I could use it to clear corridors, as well as a lot of great corners that are traditionally found by players. The overall potential of the M26 mask is definitely very good, considering that they've made alterations to the pellet count in the past, as well as the damage model is universal in terms of its total effectiveness in comparison to its big brothers like the pump action shotguns. So of course, I would highly recommend that you guys give it a try. I quickly noticed that every time I was killing players with it, I think a lot of players really thought that the weapon was glitched in a multitude of manners, and I quickly found that the lobby that I was playing in was being occupied by other M26 mask players. So of course, if you've been looking for something to definitely allow you to be a little bit more close quarters combat ready, then I can highly recommend this particular attachment, and I think you'll definitely have a lot of fun along the way, but of course, kind of keep in mind that it is still a shotgun and not a primary weapon. But anyway guys, that's really all the information when it comes down to this particular episode. Of course, if you guys would like to leave comments for the next episode, feel free to let me know in the comments below, considering that I do use your guys' submissions when it comes down to creating these episodes. But until the next episode guys, this has been NMO, and I'm going to be signing out guys. Peace.